I just want to cover off my rapture dream that I had back on the 24th of September 2023. This, for reference, was probably about 5-6 months after I was actually saved, which would have been March 2023. It's now, where are we? July 2025. So this dream, despite it being almost 2 years ago, still is incredibly vivid. So how the dream actually starts, again, this dream took place on the 24th of September 2023. I was actually in our living room. We have a living room and dining room that's all part of one room. It's not a massive room, but I was in the dining room part. We have a dining room table, which is actually where I work from. So I'm just sitting at the dining room table. I sense to my right that there's somebody else that's sitting on the one seat that's next to me, and I'm pretty sure that was a family member. So they were sitting next to me. I kind of glance across to the right, and our corner sofa, again, was definitely a family member that was sitting there. I kind of get up, I wander over just next to the person who's next to me, just kind of put my hands on the back of their seat. I'm just kind of generally talking, and then suddenly, as I literally blink my eyes, then I'm in the sky. This one, I would estimate I was probably 3,000 to 5,000 feet in the air. I would guess. I've done a skydive for about 14,000 feet and seen what 3,000, where the secondary kind of jump height is, and it was similar to that. I only got a little bit of a brief sense of obviously height, but I was in the sky. It was dark, nighttime, full kind of nighttime. I'm surrounded by clouds, so I can kind of look around to the back of me, see loads of clouds above me, and literally at my own kind of head height or slightly above. And I can look below me at the same time, which I'm being incredibly scared of heights, would not naturally want to look down, but looked down and I could see scattered clouds, as well as being able to maybe see a little bit of the ground, because as I said, I got a sense of height, which I wouldn't do if it was just a canopy of clouds. And as I look around, I can see sort of in front of me, I would have said roughly about 50 feet, 40 to 50 feet, maybe maximum. I could see a couple of people. So there was just two, from what I can remember, and I wrote this down at the time. I said 2 to 3 people, but I'm pretty sure it was just 2. I seem to remember it being a mother, kind of holding on to her child. So her child was probably about 8 or 10, head high around her waist, and she's just sort of clutching onto her and clearly looking visibly scared, I would say. She was probably thinking, what is going on? I was similar. Well, I wasn't scared. I actually felt more kind of a bit confused. I mean, literally a second ago, I was downstairs with my family in our house, and then literally a blink and I'm in the sky. So that just more took a bit of getting used to. There was also a sense of being held. If you can imagine somebody holding from under your armpits, and you're just kind of floating. You can move your feet about and stuff like that, but I just felt like it was gently being held up there. Not necessarily like zero gravity, so you could kind of move your legs around like normal, but yeah, I was just suspended in the air, I suppose is the best way to describe it. As I said, there was loads of flashes of lightning all going on around me. The thing that kind of, after it, looking back, because that was it, it was a very, very brief one. I've had probably about 4 rapture dreams, but that was the first one. And interestingly, my mum had a rapture dream the very same night, which was very strange. She's also a believer. She believed around about the same sort of time as me, and it wasn't until afterwards. I've only just started writing a dream journal, and it's because of I started writing literally just in my phone. I'd have a dream, write it down, and recording it. But it wasn't really that I had a real, after watching quite a lot of dreams online, I realised that there was obviously a lot of dreams out there, and so I felt the need to, rather than just have them in my phone and for my my own kind of enjoyment of going back and going through these dreams and kind of mentioning about, oh, do you remember that time I had this dream, that dream? I thought, I'm going to put that into a journal, and then from that journal, I know that if I lose my phone, at least I've got a backup. They're all written down, and also, if anybody wants to read them, they can read them, and also for making videos. So I've got stacks and stacks and stacks of videos to put together. This is the very first one. But my thoughts after it, again, I'm writing this dream journal about 2 years later, was surprisingly how vivid it was. There's certain dreams I find, if they're definitely from God or if they're not. The ones that are definitely from God seem different in the moment, and you just know this is a bit different, I need to pay attention to this. And afterwards you wake up in the morning and they're very, very vivid often. And even though you're right, maybe the next day sometimes, not that I do that very often, but sometimes, and you can remember all them, you can recount everything. As I said, 2 years later I can recount everything, really. But as I said, the afterthoughts on this one was, is my family weren't there. So I've got 2 children and a wife, and neither of them were there in the sky with me, which was a concern, for sure, because obviously you hope that you're surrounded by your family, which I wasn't at all. But then I've seen that as a theme. So as I said, I've probably had about 4 rapture dreams now. Every single one, there's never been a family member there. So I'm concerned, but not too concerned, if that makes sense, because my eldest daughter now is very much a believer, very, very much a believer. So I'm convinced that she would go. So as I said, I'm not too concerned about that. But what I was concerned about was the timing, really. So what I got a real sense of, and I realised I didn't mention, was while I was up in the clouds with all the lightning and everything going off, it was raining really heavily, like pretty heavily, and I could feel that hitting my arm. So I knew I was above the cloud, but as I said, I had cloud below me as well. I didn't really have a real sense of temperature. Now, I don't know whether that is because I just couldn't feel the temperature, or it was a comfortable temperature that I didn't notice it. Now, obviously this was in September. I knew nothing, by the way, of the Feast of Trumpets, really, at this time. But I found out 2 years later, looking back on it, it was the 24th of September, which in the 2023 was the last day of the Feast of Trumpets, which obviously is a favourite, I would have said, for a lot of people, as a potential time when, Jesus will come back and take us back. So that was quite impressive. The fact that obviously my mum also had a dream the same day, or night I should say, was very interesting as well. But yeah, the concern was around the timing. So again, I'm not really thinking about the timing too much a year later, but obviously I've still got this dream in my mind, but I knew it was around October, September, October, that sort of thing. My birthday's the second week of October. So I knew that the timing was highly likely to be the same sort of time that the dream happened as well. And this is purely because of obviously the sort of time it gets dark in the UK, around that time of year. I don't know how clocks go back. I think it's late October, but regardless, I suppose what I was trying to figure out was for family members to be over at that sort of time. Most of the time they'll go by 8, so or even earlier. So for it to be dark and still have family members over, it would have to be maybe a special occasion of some kind, or it was just a little bit later in the year. So as I said, September, October, November, that sort of time, when it would be dark at a time when family members would be here. That was my logic, and so I kind of thought maybe it's around about September, maybe October time. This is, as I said before obviously knowing about the Feast of Trumpets, and that feels about right. So I think that is around where it would be, where it would be not cold, warm. There'd be rain. Obviously, we're then switching seasons into autumn in the UK, or fall in the US, and we start to get quite a bit of rain, and so that felt about right as well for the weather, for all of that kind of aspect. I think that's all I wanted to mention about this one. I've got loads of different ones. So, as I said, rapture dreams, all sorts of, crazy stuff, prophetic stuff. I'm possibly prophetic. But what I've noticed by watching a lot of these dreams is now the huge amount of people that see exactly the same thing. What I think is so beautiful about the rapture itself is how everybody's got a different account. And as I said, the 4 times I've had dreams, they've all been completely different. In so many ways, completely different. Yet, you know what it's representing. So, as I said, this is my first video. There will be many more to come. I've got 2.5 years to catch up on. I've got 2 dream journals with probably about 100 odd dreams of which to put together. And in going through them, it's really difficult to break them down as to, no, I don't think I'll submit that one, because they're all so completely different with different lessons in them. So it's just going to take me a long time to put them together. Okay, thanks for listening.